Welcome back to the Jag Bros. I'm one of your hosts, JT Raymond, alongside my two brothers, Jack and Joey. We got our first weekend of football under our belts. We had the Olympics wrap up. Man, it's so exciting to get into this time of year. You got college football about a week and a half away. Whew, I'm excited.
Well, Saturday was epic. We had the Jaguars winning Saturday evening. Saturday during the day, we had the USA men's basketball game, gold medal match, USA versus France. And want to ask you guys a question because we had a ton of fun, a lot of responses from who would win the 1,600 meters of the Jag Bros and who would win Cole Hawker for 4 laps or Joey for 2. So another Olympic Jag Bros question for you. So for those who watched the game, Steph Curry had 4 3-pointers in a row, incredibly, to win the game, to seal the game. Super clutch. Some of those shots double covered. One of those shots earlier in the game over 7'5" Victor Wembanyama. So the question is, uncovered, wide open, how long would it take you to make 4 3-pointers in a row?
Oh man. How many shots or how many minutes? Or how many
minutes? Yeah. How many minutes? Well, the other two Jag Bros are rebounding for you. How long's it taken?
4 in a row is so difficult. 100 shots, 200 shots.
I'm going to just say it can't be done for me. I'm a terrible basketball player. I played just about every sport growing up at one point. Basketball was about the only one that I did not ever try to do. I legitimately don't think I could make 4 shots in a row. It would take hours for me to do that. Jack, I feel like you could do it. Joey, I could see you doing that too. But man, 4 in a row is just like, I'd struggle to hit 4 free throws in a row.
JT's a stat pattern in basketball. Miss a shot and go get that offensive board.
Exactly. Like, hey, I'll miss a couple layups and put it back up.
I think I could do it. I would have to warm up first. I think it would take me probably around 15 minutes. I think if I was under 15 minutes, I don't know how long it would take to shoot 100 plus shots. Joey, do you think you could do it in under 15 minutes?
No, not under 15 minutes. I would probably be closer to 30 to 45. I just see myself making like 3 in a row and then like freaking out and not hitting the 4th.
The pressure would get to you.
Yes.
Well, shout out to Steph Curry. Shout out to USA all the way. That was incredible to watch. That last 3-pointer was amazing over 2 guys. LeBron and Durant were wide open. Steph Curry's a legend. But back to Jags football.
Yeah, let's get back to the Jags. Basketball, like I said, is not my sport from any talent perspective. And so, yeah, excited for today. We're going to be talking about the preseason game, some of the changes that we saw in the special teams for the Jaguars. Really nice return by Parker Washington. So we'll weigh in on there, who we liked, who popped, who didn't, what are some of the concerns or things that we are even more bullish about going into the season. Additionally, last week, we broke down the offensive projections. We did some over-unders, and I think that was a fun game. We'll switch it over to the defensive side of the ball, too. We'll talk about what we think some of the defensive projections could be for some individuals or for the defense at large. We will also give you a quick preview for this week's preseason game coming up too. So guys, we finally got to see Team Teal back at it. We saw a couple of drives from the starters. The Chiefs actually did play their starters for 1 drive, so we were incorrect on that when we originally were recording. They did play one of the drives. And so it was fun to get to see the big names out there. And what'd you guys think?
I'm so hyped for this season now. I saw
there he is
things that I love. I was cheering. I was watching in a restaurant and I was jumping up and down during Parker Washington's return. This was so what I needed to inject some Jags into my veins. I needed to see it. And there were a few things that I didn't like, but a majority of it I loved.
Joey was texting us in the middle of this game, and I mean, it was hot take after hot take after hot take. So I'm really interested to see what he ends up sharing on the podcast now that he's had a couple of days to digest it.
Well, yeah, let's get into it. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. So the offense scores 26 points. They were set up in great field position that first drive where we got to see the starters score a touchdown early with Trevor Lawrence to ETN. But overall, what were your thoughts on the offense?
The first team didn't get that much to do because Parker Washington already put them practically in the red zone with his return. But what I did get to see, I saw Gabe Davis looking great. He's going to have an amazing year. I think everyone saw that he's going to be a lot better than people projected, which I've been yelling this entire time. And Trevor looked great. The offensive line looked like it still kind of struggled. There wasn't great running from ETN or nothing kind of broken from there. So really scared about the offensive line. But other than that, everything looked really nice.
Leave it to Joey to project after the one catch that Gabe Davis has over the middle to say that he's now been vindicated and that it proves that Gabe Davis is going to have a massive year. I will say the thing that I wanted to focus on was situational football. It's the red zone and it's third down conversions, etc. And from a red zone perspective, I love the play call that we scored a touchdown on to ETN. I think that is a play that is going to be there. ETN should be faster than most linebackers. And I think he was second or third last year in broken tackles. So if we are in that kind of 8 to 11 yard range, trying to score a touchdown from there, that was a beautiful play call where we're not just doing jump ball after jump ball to some of the receivers on the sidelines and giving a playmaker the ball in space. A little bit concerning that we couldn't convert on that 3rd and 5 and then the 4th and 5. That was something that plagued us last year. I think they showed a stat at the beginning of the game. They're like, hey, which one do we want to improve on? We're dead last in red zone touchdowns. We were bottom 3rd in 3rd down conversions, 4th down conversions, all those other statistics that we've been talking about over the last year. So that was a little bit concerning, but it was also nice to see us be at least willing to throw the ball over the middle of the field to Gabe Davis. So that's something that we've been slamming the table on now for almost 10 months, that we would like to see that done more. And so it was encouraging to see a couple of times where we're throwing the ball over the middle of the field.
One of the big differences for the offense was that Press Taylor was down on the field on Saturday night. So that seems to be something that Doug wants to change long-term. How much effect that has on the players, it's still way too early to tell, but that's going to be something to watch. And of course, probably the biggest storyline on the offense is going to be who is going to call the plays week 1. A lot of hot takes on that, but so far through the preseason, it is Press Taylor, with Doug maybe slightly more involved. But yeah, my 2 big goals for this game was, number 1, if you get inside the red zone for the first string, score a touchdown. And so check there. And number 2, just see, make sure that the offense is moving the ball well. And so Trevor Lawrence, 3 out of 4, 42 yards and a touchdown. Everything we wanted to see from him was there. It's just a few reps in the preseason. It's just kind of whetting the appetite, making sure that he's getting ready for football. No injuries on the first string. So that was definitely a check for the Jags as well. But the big play had to be the Brian Thomas Jr. 41-yard bomb that came with CJ Beathard throwing him the ball. The Jags sideline went crazy for it. That play was pretty awesome.
That was an incredible catch. I like to redact some of the stuff I said about Brian Thomas Jr. I think he's going to have a really good season. Not
How many yards are you giving him now, Joey?
1,500.
I'm going to put it around 600, 700 now. Yeah, I was very encouraged by his long bomb, his awesome catch. It was underthrown, so I'm all about
and a pass interference too that was not called.
I think Mac Jones showed us that he is quarterback 2, and CJ Beathard needs to be waived. I also saw Luke Fortner absolutely blow a gap blitz untouched, had Mac Jones sacked for like a 6-yard loss. I don't know if Luke Fortner is even going to make this 53-man roster. He is just awful. I mean, after such a terrible season, and then to go out and show that type of performance again when everyone's already kind of like, oh, can he like make a step up? But no, it seems like he's maybe still taking a step back. It's so sad. And then I also want to touch base on the starting offensive line again. Etienne had 4 rushes for 3 yards and averaged 0.8 yards. That's devastating. It's nice to see that Tank had 3 rushes for 28 yards and averaged 9.3 yards. That's awesome from Tank. We need to see that also from ETN and the starting offensive line, because if our offensive line is giving up 0.1 yards or 0.8 yards average, is going to be a real sad season for our rushing.
Yeah, they also gave up that big sack. JT, you mentioned earlier, the 4th and 5 play that Trevor Lawrence took a sack. That is going to be the concern. That's going to be the Achilles heel that the Jags are going to have to solve. I'm all about the hype train. You know, we go and we beat the Chiefs, but it is preseason. And I'm still saying this is not a contender because I just don't think the offensive line is going to play well enough to get us into the elite of the elite in terms of the NFL. And so that was not exciting to see first, second, or third string with the O-line.
Yeah, Joey, you got any hot takes for Tank, Joey, for us?
Tank's coming for the number 1 starting position. Travis
Goodness.
Etienne better be aware, because if Tank can get 9.6 yards averaging, granted it's against the number 2 defensive line, so I'm not going to give too much credit there, but 0.8 yards averaging is just abysmal. So we'll see what happens, but I'm more on the offensive line being just absolute garbage. We talked about it all last year, and it seems like it hasn't changed at all. And we didn't fire our offensive line coach, Phil Rauscher, and we'll see if that was a good idea or not.
Joey, I hate to break it to you, but we're recording this Monday afternoon. So Jags are running training camp right now. And I just saw a tweet about 10 or 15 minutes ago that Trevor Lawrence just threw a pass that bounced off Tank Bigsby's hands and was an interception by Darnell Savage. So a lot of flashbacks on that play from practice. So maybe cool the Jets.
Etienne's the wide receiver running back, and Tank's the running back. You can do that.
Let's cool the Jets big time on this. I mean, we saw what he looked at against second and third string guys for Kansas City, and look, he looked. I will say this: he looked good. He had some nice runs, and he hit the hole hard. He averaged well. He did what you wanted to see, but to like translate that into, hey, he should be getting a lot more first team snaps, or hey, he's giving ETN a run for his money, or any of those things. I think that would be a foolish comparisons to make at this early stage. And look, almost all of the starting running backs this past weekend didn't even play. And so you're not even seeing anybody there. There's other people that had similar stat lines that are starters. And at the end of the day, ETN scored a touchdown on a receiving play. So it's not like ETN was horrible. And so I'm not at all really that concerned about who ETN is or his play.
I mean, if it's just preseason stats, our RB1 would be Dearness Johnson. Then our RB2 would be Jalen Jackson. And then RB3 would be Tank Bigsby. And then we would have Gary Brightwell as RB4.
No,
exactly.
And
CJ Beathard as RB5.
and as I was saying, I don't blame ETN for the terribleness. I blame more the offensive line. I mean, he had nowhere to go. The offensive line, the defense was already there by the time he hands the ball off. It's really, really bad.
3 carries. Don't overreact.
Mitch Morris is not the saving grace that we all were hoping that this one guy would somehow change this whole offensive line. It's the whole offensive line. It's the guards. It's the tackles. No one can run block. It's not good.
I mean, I don't disagree with you there. I think that was Jack and I's point last episode, where I don't know how much of a upgrade this offensive line is ultimately going to see. Harrison should be continue to improve as he matures. Morris is out, an obvious upgrade at center. You're essentially rolling with the same guards, and you're hoping that they're going to stay healthier. We'll see. And ETN is a big play type of running back. He's somebody that may end up having 10 for 25 and then rip off a 40-yard run. So that's also within his realm of possibility. Before we get to the special teams and the defense, anything else to call out here on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I feel like we're being a little too negative here because Jags still dropped 26 points. We still got the dub, even though, yes, it's preseason, so it doesn't actually mean anything. So I think there's a lot more positive to spotlight in the offense. You got to give Joey, your boy, Mac Jones, some credit first game back in Jacksonville. Jacksonville native, played for Bulls High School. So he looked good, 9 for 11, 98 yards. And then Devin Duvernay is the other guy I want to give a shout out to. New Jaguar from the Ravens. He's going to be one of our other returners as well, was actually an all-pro for Baltimore in that area, but had a very nice 35-yard touchdown catch as well. So shout out to Duvernay. I think he's probably going to see wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 for us, with our boy Parker Washington just doing work all around the game.
I also want to, this isn't exactly offense, more special team, but Cam Little looked awesome. He went 3 for 4, longest 47, and the only one he missed was a 62-yarder, which he had the leg for, just slightly missed it. But everything looked great from Cam Little, so I was very, very excited to see our kicking, and we're actually looks like we're going to have some points on the board from our kicker.
Yeah, and we can stay in special teams. So we actually got to see up close and personal what the changes look like for the special teams. I think one of the announcers mentioned it looks much more similar to a punt, and I agree. It felt like it's an opportunity where this can really be a game changer for teams, and you should be able to set up more returns. And so even sometimes for punts where teams will kick it really high and you're doing a lot more fair catches, I think you're going to see a more of an emphasis on special teams and teams to be able to outperform. And what was great is I think Parker Washington may have had the highlight of the weekend for special teams, unless something happened later on Sunday. But what did you guys think of the changes there?
I think it's exciting. Any one of those plays, you can break it big. And you saw that if you got the juke moves, which Parker Washington seems to have made so many people miss, you're going to return some of these for touchdowns, or going to get some really good yardage. It's going to be fun to watch. It's not it used to be, oh, it's, kickoff and commercial. Let's go get like a drink or some food. No. You're going to want to watch these kickoffs now.
It's still so weird to me. Of course, we saw that weird play too, where the Chiefs guy catches it or grabs the ball on the 1 when he's in the end zone. It ends up being a safety. I'm still pretty confused. So hopefully we figure it out over the preseason. But shout out to the Jags, because they came ready to go. And I mean, we saw it in this game. If you win special teams, all of a sudden it's a much bigger advantage. So Parker Washington was fantastic. He did have, JT, just looked up, the longest kickoff return of the NFL this past week. And then he also had a very nice 14-yard punt return too. So Trevor just said the day before, he said, hey, Parker Washington's one of the most improved guys on this team. And it's very much looking that way. Again, it's still very early. I'm not falling into the same trap as Joey. I'm not putting Parker Washington wide receiver 1 or the best returner in the league or the next Devin Hester. But I did like what I saw from him on Saturday night.
No, I didn't say that. I just said Tank coming for Travis Etienne, because that boy can run, and he was getting the ball way past the lineage, which Tank was not. But
Tank did have that nice return.
Yeah, that's true. He also had a nice return. I just like seeing Tank perform really well. I'm telling you, he is going to have a breakout season.
So a lot of good on offense, a lot of good on special teams, a few things, of course, that's the goal preseason, to keep working on, keep improving, keep getting better at for week number 1. But now looking at the defensive side of the ball. So we saw one drive with the first string defense against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. So what'd y'all think of the first string and even just the second string?
I saw a huge problem with Devin Lloyd. I think that he did not play middle linebacker very well at all. The big rush right up the middle was his fault. Over exaggerated in the middle, got blocked out of the way, allowed Prochenko to run right up the gut for like 20 yards. And then also on the big pass over the middle, he misread it, ran straight up, and then they threw it right over his head for a huge play. Devin Lloyd is not a middle linebacker, and it looked real bad.
I don't know if there should be any huge takeaways from the game, positive or negative. You're right, Joey. Devin Lloyd didn't have his best couple of plays there, but I mean, to me, it was very similar to how he played at times last year. So we'll have to see what he can do and continue to progress. It's interesting. It's going to be really interesting seeing us play this much man. I think a lot of defensive players love to do that. It's also going to be really scary when we play Miami week 1 with the amount of speed. If we're actually going to stick to man against Tyreek and Waddle and some of the other folks that they have on that team that are extremely fast. So we saw immediately they try to pick on Buster Brown. They try to pick on some of the areas to move the ball. I didn't see anything that stood out to me super positively or negatively with the first teamers, at least.
I think it's just the goal. What is your goal for preseason? And to me, especially when it's starters, because you're seeing so few reps, you're not going to most likely see him play at all in preseason week 2. I think it's just you're trying to get game speed, because even in practice, you're never going to hit that game speed and game intensity. And you're just trying to get the rust off. So it will be week 1 is going to be an awesome test for our defense. Tyreek Hill just said today that he could beat Noah Lyles in a 100-meter dash. And so you are going up against him and Waddle, who are 2 of the fastest players in the game. But the Jags have invested a lot on speed, bringing in 4 or 5 guys that all run 4.3 40-yard dashes. So it's going to be a big show week 1. But yeah, not a ton that jumped out to me. Would have loved to, have a 3-and-out against Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, of course, but holding them to a field goal is probably going to be success for this defense.
Yeah, moving into the second defense, though, I saw some nice standouts. Miles Cole, the rookie 7th rounder, had some really good plays, showing something that he could grow into in a couple years, being a really good rotational guy. And I was really excited to see what he had. And then DJ Coleman also, a guy that was around last year, but it really kind of stood out in this game. So those were my 2 kind of big takeaways from the second defensive team. What about y'all?
I think for me, when you're looking at the second and third string, I was really impressed with the secondary. And I think a lot of credit has to go to new defensive back coach, Chris Richard, too. So being in Dallas, that is a hot name for the Cowboys coaching staff. He was actually one of the front runners to be their new DC at one point, and even potentially long-term grooming for a head coach job. So I think what he's done has been impressive. In fact, PFF had the player, quote unquote, player of the game as Terrell Edmonds, one of our backup safeties. He had 2 stops, 2 forced fumbles, couple big hits. And so liked what I saw from him. I liked rookie DeAndre Prince, and also Christian Braswell should have had a scoop and score that we didn't review. So overall, I really liked the secondary performance.
Yeah, I think we saw Yasser get his first sack
Yes, sir.
preseason, which was exciting because that was one of the things that we talked about is let's see the depth there. Vontrell Miller had the most amount of tackles or played the most amount of snaps, which is just good for him. I'm happy that he was able to get out there, play football. Lifelong Gator fan. He was a player I really enjoyed watching, and he cared so much. He gave so much of himself, and was absolutely the cornerstone of that defense, and the team captain there aligning people up. So in that sense, he's a pretty heady player, which is nice to see. To me, I never thought he had the high-end talent that I've seen some of Florida linebackers have throughout the years, the Channing Crowders or the Brandon Spikes or the Brandon Silers that have had longer, more successful NFL careers. But, sometimes those other attributes can play a factor too. So he had a nice game. And even when I saw he got banged up, it was fun to see him come back out there and seem to be fine.
Man, that dude takes a lot of injuries. He had a injured hand this week too, so it was good to see him play. He went down for a second too with injury, but yeah, he had 5 tackles, and he looks a lot bigger than from college too. I saw on the depth chart he's listed at like 230. He looks like more of a 240, 250. He could be a very nice addition for the Jaguars' depth at linebacker, which is neat, especially if Devin Lloyd is done for per Joey.
I didn't say he was done for, but what he put on tape was very concerning.
Any other final thoughts from the game?
I think the 2 positive big takeaways from it is going to be no serious injuries, because you never want to see that in a preseason game. And then number two was also very, very few penalties and mental mistakes for the Jaguars. So I know we've harped, especially at the end of 2023, on a lot of coaching decisions, coaching misses, but I thought coaching was a win for the Jags so far in week 1 of preseason.
Yeah, I agree that there was nothing there that was extremely concerning, which in a lot of ways is huge. And so good job by the team. Good job by the coaching staff getting them ready to play. And it'll be fun to see as we continue to move along the preseason. So one of the things that we also wanted to do today is similar to what we did last week, which is look at the defensive side of the ball now and talk about some over-unders. By and large, the Jacksonville defense was middle of the pack by the end of the season. I think most fans would agree the first 8 weeks or so, we outperformed what we were expected to have. We made almost no offseason moves in 2023 to strengthen the defensive side of the ball. And yet we saw a defense outperform their expectations for the first half of the year. And then as the injuries piled up, as the season went along, I think that defense regressed back to where we would think of them going into the season. And they finished middle of the road, somewhere between 13 to 20th in most of the statistical categories. Going into 2024, we obviously have a new defensive coordinator. We've made some marquee moves, both in the free agency market and in the draft on that side of the ball. So I guess the question for you guys, over under Jacksonville being a top 12 defense.
I see it. I think we're going to be right at top. I have this at probably exactly 10, so I have us beating top 12.
I think that's a great call. That's about where I feel as well. 12 is a good spot. Maybe we sneak into 10th or 11th, but I'm a buyer. I'm a believer in the Jags defense having a nice upgrade from last year. So
I'll take the under. I'm not sure if this team is ready to make a step where we're a bona fide top third. I think we'll be similar to where we were last year, with maybe the floor being lifted, where we don't have games where we're just completely bottom out. And so in that respect, I think we'll be in that 12 to 15 range.
Yeah, that's fair. Definitely, it's top 10. I think if everyone plays up to the potential with no one kind of getting hurt, but we didn't get to see anything from Campbell and a few other people. So you could be right. We could be in the 15 to 18 range possibly. But I choose to believe from what I saw in our awesome preseason game that we're going to be about top 10.
All right. One of the other fun stats always for defense is sacks. We had an amazing performance last year from Josh Allen, who's now goes by Josh Hines Allen. So if you hear us talk about him, it's same exact person. Last year he had 17 and a half sacks, which was an amazing performance for him. However, Jacksonville as a defense finished bottom 6 within the league with only 40 sacks. So this year, over under 40 sacks for the Jacksonville defense.
Definitely over. I think Trayvon Walker is really coming into his own. I think he could have up to about 12 sacks this season. Josh Allen may not have as many as he did last season with 17, but I think other people are going to start to step up. Hamilton is healthy now. I think he'll grab a few. Eric Armstead, obviously, will get his share of a handful. And then I think Gibson is a huge upgrade over Chason. So I definitely see the team average being over 40 sacks.
Whoa, I heard Chason had a pass deflected in his first Panthers preseason game. But I'm gonna take the slight over. And I think most of that, it's all going to depend on Josh Hines Allen health. If he stays healthy for 17 games again, I actually like him to break the franchise record again because he had 17 and a half sacks, tied for second in the NFL, even though he was still dropping into coverage sometimes. And Nielsen's made a big point that he wants Hines Allen and Walker blitzing, getting after the passer 99.9% of the time. So I think we get slightly over 40. I don't see us getting a ton of other sacks outside of our 2 premier edge rushers, though. So it's still going to be a concern to me. I don't see us in the top 50% of the league in that for sure, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, Joey, I like how you broke that down. I would completely agree with everything you said. A slight over there on from a sacks perspective, potentially a regression from Allen, whether that's due to injury or just more of a sharing of the load. I think Walker continues to take a step up. I love what you said, 12 there, and I do think we're going to get more production out of the defensive tackles in some of the other rotational defensive ends. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Lloyd and some of those other guys come on blitzes. I think the one thing that Caldwell did a really nice job of was some of the corner and safety blitzes, because those things seem to get home more often than they typically do in the NFL. Our final over under here is we'll look at some players over under. Let's say 2.5 players go to the Pro Bowl from Jacksonville's defensive side of the ball.
Under. I think you got Josh Allen or Josh Hines Allen, sorry. Maybe Cisco. I think Cisco could really have a breakout year as well and solidify himself as a top safety, but it ain't gonna be Campbell. And I don't see maybe Foye, but Foye's always been underrated, and I don't see them changing their position this year, unfortunately, even if he has such a great year.
I guess I'll have to take the over because I've already said a couple episodes ago that Tyson Campbell's going to have a second breakout year and prove that he was at least worth most of that money. And so him, Hines Allen, and yeah, give me Cisco as well. He seems like the most likely guy if it's not Trayvon Walker. So I'm going to take 3 guys for the Jags defense.
I'll take the under. I agree with you, Joey. I think Hines Allen will end up doing it again, especially once you've established yourself once in the eyes of the media are always already on you. I think you have a good chance of repeating. There's not a whole lot of people. I'd love the Cisco idea. You're in a contract year for him. We've made the argument that they should have paid him instead of Campbell. And so I would not be surprised if he has a similar type of season to what Hines Allen had a couple of years ago, right before last year, where we decided not to pay him. He absolutely torches everything, and then you're forced to pay him top dollar.
All right, we'll have to see. Well, we've had a lot of fun playing over and under. As always, we say we want to hear from y'all. We're going to post some of these on Twitter or on X at the Jag Bro. So let us know if you are thinking way over or way under, or if we've gone crazy or not. But this Saturday is going to be preseason game number 2. It's at home as well in Jacksonville versus Tampa. This one will be a little bit different because we have combined joint practices with the Buccaneers this week. So that is actually going to be where we see most of the starters take reps. There's going to be a lot to watch. So be sure to check out Jags highlights on their Twitter account and on YouTube as well. Listen to the interviews after practices as well. But when you think about the game, it's probably going to be more second, third string. It's going to be who's going to make the final 53-man roster. But as you look ahead at another week of training camp, this combined practice with the Bucs, some of the depth guys in the game itself, what are 1 or 2 things that y'all are looking for to see from the Jags?
I want to see the offensive line, the backup offensive line, but I need to see more out of them. I need to see that if one of the starters go down, we have someone that can step up and it won't be that big of a drop off. This offensive line could be, once again, our most Achilles heel on this entire team. So I just need to see more out of them. I need Phil Rauscher to somehow whip them into shape and get them to actually want to protect someone and actually allow us to get some yardage. And then also want to see the edge guys once again, looking at Miles Cole, see if he can keep doing well. Yasser got a sack. Can he keep it up? We need that depth there. So want to see what they can do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be less interesting, obviously, than what this first one was. For me, it's just, what are the rookies doing? What are these second year guys doing? We were joking back and forth about Brenton Strange sighting in week 1. Is there anybody that's being able to make plays or some flashy things? We've heard about the Jacksonville receiving core being very deep. So let's see a Cooks. Let's see somebody else make an argument to be kept. And Jack, you've also called out so far that the DBs have looked really, really good. Let's continue to see some of that progression, especially from some of those younger guys like a Johnson or a Broswell or some of the guys that might be seeing more snaps this game.
Yep, y'all stole the couple things I'm watching. I'm watching the DBs. So we remember last year, late in the season when things were falling apart, the Bucs blow us out 30-12, and Baker Mayfield looks like, top 5 quarterback in the league, like he's Patrick Mahomes or something crazy. He gets a big contract after his season. So what does the defensive backs look like, especially in practice, first string against first string? Can we make Baker Mayfield not look like a Pro Bowl quarterback? And then, yes, I'm definitely very curious, Joey, what does our interior offensive line look like in these practices? Because we're going up against a very good interior defensive line with Vita Vea and some other guys from the Bucs. So that's going to be the biggest weakness to me. And let's hope it looks better than it did week 1 against the Chiefs.
Absolutely. So you heard it here. We're going to go ahead and close this episode down, but a very exciting week. Everyone keep watching on X as we update you on how the practice is going, and also look at what Jag reporters are saying, because they'll be interviewing people throughout the week and there'll be a lot of content for you to consume this week. And then also hope everyone has a great time watching the game on Saturday. Hopefully we can see some of those backups play very well and try to make this 53-man roster and get ready for this incredible 2024 season. And let's see what we can do. That's going to be it for us here, and we're going to close it out as we always do.
Ball.